Today we take modern prose. Is it true to say that there is a new way of writing? Can we speak of modern prose as opposed to an old fashioned style? It is true that the style is the personal voice of the man, and man does not change for very long periods. But a social being does change, and with the changes in his mind, the instrument which expresses his thoughts also must be altered. In modern prose, one misses the sonorous rhythms of a gibbon or a buck. Neither is a modern prose writer as dictatorial or statutarian as Arnold and Ruskin. What he aims at is simplicity. He wishes to express his thoughts clearly and without any literary artifices impeding his flow of thoughts. Modern prose has become far more flexible. The antithetical playlist, which when often repeated, remind the reader of soldiers on parade, has gone. The written language today is much nearer the spoken language than it ever was before. In the 17th and 18th centuries, conscious stylists like Brown and Milton, Johnson and Gibbon took their writing farther and farther away from speech. Dunn certainly didn't speak in the way he thundered from the pulpit. Dr. Johnson modeled his speech on the sonorous language he used for writing. Natural writing was left to journalists. In our time, the case is the reverse. Journalists use all the high sounding metaphors, while plain writing is left to the great writers. The War of 1914 to 18 had a far reaching influence on all writers. Before the war, reform was welcomed by the people as a means of doing away with certain abuses in institutions such as the church, marriage, and traditional morality. That was the age of controversies, Shaw and Wells, Chesterton and Belloc. But the war brought complete disillusionment. Civilization was branded as an old bitch gone in the teeth. The prevailing mood was to doubt all conceptions and all ideals. Strachey's earlier biographers reduced the great figure of the past to certain irreducible vanities. Lawrence's only hope was to return to the primitive. Aldous Huxley exposed the emotions of man as being hypocritical. The Victorian age was an age of vague thought and feeling, vague humanity in Dickens, vague indignation in Carlyle, vague religion in Tennyson. The modern writer must be more honest with himself. He lives in a world where nothing can be taken on trust. Above all things, he is sincere, and so ready made phrases do not suit his purpose. They cannot adequately express what he feels. To express his thoughts, he is returning to the rhythms of everyday speech. But then in itself is an art. To write in the way that the mind would like to utter is as much of an art as that of a conscious stylist. The old prose lacked the sense of the uninterrupted flow of the mind. Henry James had succeeded in breaking down the barrier between thought and its expression, but his style is a little strained. Modern prose has become very flexible and very sensitive, as is apparent in the novels of Mrs. Woolf. Modern writers were greatly interested in the new psychology. Another influence was the advancement in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. The effect of all this was that man's importance dwindled. He became but a part of the gigantic whole. Writers concentrated more and more on their inner experiences and therefore made increasing use of sensory images. Taste in selection and diction were by many writers deliberately sacrificed to immediacy of effect. All sort of slangs and colloquialism came within the writer's range. The ordinary working prose of the time is plain intended for use. The walk was for the plain or the brilliant, and with the Sitwells for the rare. We have no Johnson or Lander. For prose of the same elaboration, we must turn now to fiction. Modern prose is marked by two distinct styles. First, plain style, marked by weight, deliberation, and yet familiarity. And second, metaphysical style, full of conceits, attempting the expression of direct intuition of things through artificial imagery. Biographers have tended to become detached and unflattering. There is no historian in the grand style like Gibbon or Macaulay. Lytton Strachey is at his best in eminent Victorians and his small biographies of Thomas Arnold and Manning. Then there are other biographies of some merit, such as Lord Tweedmore's Life of Cromwell and Montrose and Churchill's Life of Marlborough. But the historical prose has not helped to form the art of prose in general, nor has the voluminous literature of travel, the most being T. Lawrence's Seven Pillars of Wisdom. The essay hasn't flourished, it has become a branch of journalism. The publicists since Chesterton and Shaw have been chiefly specialists. James Jeans and Eddington address the public on their own subjects. Butt and Russell deals with the themes of recent interest in clear and lucid prose. Jeans makes astronomical facts enchanting, while Eddington makes the abstruse intelligible. The nature of the physical world is a masterpiece of clear exposition, but the prose of scientists is functional prose. It addresses the reader across a gulf and is very specialized. Perhaps when the many technical terms are assimilated by the reading public, a workable prose will be evolved, capable of handling everything. In the meanwhile, for beautiful prose of our time, we must turn to the novelist. Thank you.